Hey, welcome back guys to part 2 of this series. We're going to be jumping right into it today. We're changing the belts, the transmission fluid, and the differential fluid. We only have a few days before this road trip to Florida, so let's get cracking. It's time to open up our Serpentine E-Belt kit by Continental. Should come with all the idlers. It should come with the tensioner. Let's see. Hey, fantastic. This is great. I was worried that it wasn't going to come with new bolts. However, seems like the bolts are provided, which is fantastic. Bearings look good, nice seals, etc. So we'll get all this installed. Here's our tensioner with the large bolt provided. This is a spring-loaded. Wow, that's a pretty intense spring, I'm not going to lie. No wonder it was really hard to turn this back. And then here is our grenade pin. So once we install all the pulleys and the belt, we will pull this pin out. I don't think we'll be able to pull it out easily, but we may need to apply some backward pressure on the bolt to release tension, then pull this pin out, and then it will snap forward and create tension in the belt. It comes with all the new caps. So these caps go over the front of the bearing to protect it from moisture. And then we've got our beautiful Continental belt. So I guess this is why they call it V-belt, because it's got all these V grooves in it. So I'd say we dive right into this because I'm in a position to install it. So let's get it, guys. Okay, let's start with the smaller pulley, which goes underneath the alternator. So we got our brand new bolt. What the hell is this thing for? So this is a bolt retainer. Essentially, you just thread this on the back and it will keep your bolt from falling out and act as a spacer and also protect the bearing from the back from any dust or dirt or debris. Simple as that. We got a T50. Let's crank this down. And we can put its protective cap. It should just snap right on. Time for the second pulley, which is just above the power steering pump. We'll do the exact same thing. We got the tensioner, so we'll bolt that up. So the tensioner only goes in one way, and it seems to fit into the body, the surrounding area. So as you can see, this fits perfectly into the alternator bracket or part of the block, whatever that is. Time for our belt. Let's see if I can remember how to put this on. Okay, that doesn't work. So I think the mistake is the belt needs to go here and then maybe underneath and then back around like that. I can confirm that the belt has been installed properly. The crank pulley, the belt was pinching something on the block, so I had to readjust that. But it looks good. I think we're ready to rock with the belt. Let's go. Time for a more simple task. I'm going to replace the washer fluid pump. Mine is completely dead. I'm going to pull off the plastic inner fender liner to expose the washer fluid reservoir where I can investigate. And then I'm going to pull the pump out and replace it with one I picked up from the scrapyard. So let's get to it. We got to pull off plastic fender liner. Very simple, 8mm and 10mm bolts. So I can definitely confirm there's washer fluid in there. It's pink. Instead of pulling the fender off, which is a lot of work, I'm going to see if I can just pull this 10mm bolt out. And that should, in theory, allow the whole reservoir to slide out. And the pumps are, there's probably one here, and then maybe another one somewhere else in the reservoir, but hopefully it pulls out. I really hope there isn't another bolt somewhere here. That would mean the whole fender has to come off, and I'm not down for that. Oh yeah, she's coming. So we got the reservoir pulled out. This is the main pump. I can see a lot of pink buildup. So I don't know if this washer fluid killed the pump for some reason. Maybe it froze during the winter because this is a summer mix. My stupid self did not drain the fluid because I guess the car just was parked through the winter and I never thought about draining this, and now I'm paying the price. So we're going to pull the harness off, pull the pump out, then all the fluid's going to come out fast. So I'm going to try and get the new pump in there installed as quick as possible, then simply plug in the harness after. Here's the new pump. We're going to pull it out quick, swap it in as fast as possible to prevent leakage. and then connect our connector after. I got my bucket ready to go. Hey, oh shit. Okay, we'll get our new pump. Okay, now I need a tool to separate the hose. I said this was going to be simple. I shouldn't have said that. I jinxed it. I don't know if the body's cracked, but it looks like it's leaking kind of upstream of the pump. So I'm going to have to pull this out and find any cracks. So what I did to the pump is I put super glue around the connecting point from the gray part of the pump to the black part. So I super glued it. I put some gasket maker over this. Whether that's right or wrong, whatever. This is a scrap part anyways that I picked up. Go figure, it's not working properly. So now I'm going to put some gasket maker around the whole body. Just for science purposes, let's see if it stops the leak. It ain't pretty, but as long as it don't leak, it's worth a shot. Otherwise, we'll have to go find another one. But I don't even think I have that much time because I'm leaving in like 4 days. So let's keep on hustling. All right, let's try this one more time. It's not leaking, so we're good to go. Well, first we got to test the pump, see if it even works. Moment of truth, I haven't had a working washer fluid pump in probably a year, so this is quite exciting for me. Woo! It works, and it's not leaking. All that dripping is just from the washer fluid from the windshield. It is time to finally do our transmission fluid. So we are using D6 ATF fluid by Redline. So if you go onto their website, you can confirm which fluid works for your car. I know this is a manual transmission. However, BMW has been designed the transmission to work with ATF, specifically Redline. So Redline is compatible with it. With a manual transmission, obviously there's no fill tube. I think Subarus have a fill tube, which is amazing. So that way you don't need a pump. So we're gonna use this pump. So how this works is one side of the hose is gonna go into the bottle. The other hose, which is the outlet, will go into the fill tube on the side of the transmission, and we will simply suck the fluid out of the bottle and pump it into the transmission manually by hand, and then we'll move on to the next one. So BMW's specification is just under 2 quarts, so this is perfect amount of fluid for it. To remove the drain and the fill bolt, we're going to need an HW8 Allen key fitting, which I have ready to go. A pro tip, you want to make sure you remove the fill bolt first, because if that's seized or you end up stripping it and you've already drained your fluid, then you're in a big pickle and you're going to have to spend time trying to remove that fill bolt if it's even possible. So we're going to start with the fill bolt first, then we'll crack the drain bolt. We're going to have to remove the plastic underbelly pan for the transmission. It just consists of 8mm bolts, and I've got some zip ties because I messed up one time. Okay, drain bolt is at HW8. The fill bolt is also at HW8. Let's get our bucket, the drain bucket. Okay, brace yourself. Cleaned up the drain bolt thoroughly. It looks brand new, but it's not. So we'll clean up the mating surface so the gasket on the drain bolt has the best seal possible. Let's go check out the oil before we fill it up. Really curious to see what this D6 oil looks like. Not gonna lie, it sounds pretty thin. It reminds me sort of shockproof oil. Nope, it's definitely ATF looking fluid. So it's red, it's thin. So let's get our pump under there and our bottle, and we'll start pumping it in. Okay, let's remove our fill bolt. And we will get our oil catch can here on the bottom. Okay, here's our bottle of oil. We're gonna put this on the ground, and I've already marked my pump, which indicates to the bottle, the one hose. So this end needs to go into the bottle, fully submerge it, and then this end goes into the fill tube. We simply start pumping. Oh, there we go. I feel resistance. That means the fluid is getting pumped up. Oh, wow, guys, it like fully emptied it. That's awesome. We'll get our second bottle. Yeah, that's all I'm getting out of it. Let's see if it's full. It's not necessarily spilling out, so I'm gonna use a Q-tip without dropping it in there, of course, just to see if the fluid is at the top. Yep, it is full. It is time to install our fill bolt. Wipe it all up. Let's crank it down. And that's it, guys. That's how you change a transmission fluid on a manual 335i E92 chassis. Now we can finally jump into the rear differential. The only difference between the transmission and the rear diff, the diff doesn't have two plugs. So the transmission had a fill port and a drain port. Rear diff only has one port for both. So we're gonna have to siphon or suck out the fluid from the diff, then pump it back into the same port. So let's get to it. We're going to be using Redline 75W90 GL5 high performance lubricant for limited slip diffs. Sweet. We got a HW14 Allen key head. So that's the single port for filling and draining. So we're going to quickly remove that. I got my catch can ready to go just in case some spills out. Okay, so we'll insert our pump into the diff here. We'll just start sucking it all out. And then I'll put my outlet end into my oil catch can here. Okay, so we'll grab our Redline MT90, crack it open, and we can insert the pump side into there, and then we'll grab our Redline MT90 and insert the suction end of the pump fully in there. Simply pump until it starts spilling out. Okay guys, I'd say that's full. Moving on to the next item. So I bought all new wheel stud conversion kit. So these are, I think, 3.5 inches long. What's really great about it is it has this Allen key fitting here for like I think a HW5, and then this portion gets threaded into the hub, and then this is all available for oversized wheels or spacers, etc. And then I picked up these nice burnt blue tip lug nuts, open-ended, which is great, so it can accommodate these extra long wheel studs. Why am I changing these? Well, I already have an extended wheel stud conversion kit. However, it is old, and at some point in the ownership of my vehicle, I ended up rechasing the threads, and it was never the same because I think it actually cut the threads a little bit too much compared to what it should be. I can get the original lug nuts torqued down, but it just doesn't sit well with me because it kind of feels a little soft. It'll still torque, but it just feels wrong. So I'm going to go ahead and remove these. Unfortunately, these wheel studs do not have that Allen key head to back them out. So I'm going to have to put 2 lug nuts on here and then back it out with a wrench. The front is going to be way more hard because the wheel wants to spin. The rear will be much easier. So there's not much to it, guys. I'm going to show you how to do 1 or 2 of them, and then it's just going to be me putting in the time, swapping them all out. Let's get a lug nut on there. And let's get the second one on there. And now I'm going to need a wrench. So here's what it looks like. As you can see, the threads are quite dirty. That's why this is sticking. Basically 2 lug nut process here. You can use this method to remove many studs, just 2 nuts. Back it out this way because then the nut has nowhere to go. So it's basically fused with this. So we'll just keep doing that and we'll get our new ones in there. We're going to grease the new ones. This way we're a little safer on this road trip, right? Because I don't want to take any chances. I don't want wheels flying off. Okay, so here's our new wheel stud. Here's some wheel bearing grease. I'm just gonna apply it all over the threads so it doesn't seize in the future. And if I ever do need to remove it, I can easily do that. And I've got, it's actually a HW6, so I'm gonna bolt that in right now. Got my wheel studs on, fully greased, fully torqued. I got it done on all 4 corners. As you can see, I'm only running wheel spacers, just very small wheel spacers in the front because the inside of the rim or the inside of the tire will hit the coilover collar. I actually had that happen once where it actually unwinded. It loosened up the collar on the coilover because I didn't have spacers on it. So here's the driver front. Beauty. And last but not least, we got the rear ready to go. So let's get these beautiful BBS wheels installed and torqued, and we're gonna use our brand new lug nuts. I love the look. So let's get to it, guys. Now let's see if these lug nuts go on. Hopefully. Yeah, boy. Hey, that looks awesome. Yo, I love it. Whoa. Check that out. What a transformation. That looks beautiful. I'm so happy with that blue. Ties into the body a little bit. The BBS caps look amazing. The extended wheel studs stick out just enough. So it looks great in my opinion. We're finally here. Let's install the front bumper and then the underbelly pan, and we'll take it for a rip. Hopefully there's no coolant leaks. There's no oil leaks, there's no misfires, there's no issues. I don't want any problems. Can't afford it, we're leaving in 4 days. I forgot, we gotta put coolant in there, so that's why I left the cap off. So we're gonna fill the coolant before we put the underbelly pan on because I need to check for leaks. And if I put the underbelly pan on, it may hide the leaks if it's a small leak. So let's get the coolant in there and I'll show you really quickly how to bleed the system. Luckily, these cars have a self-bleeding control. So basically, you go in the car, you put the ignition on, you turn the heat up to the maximum, the temperature, not the fan. The fan goes on the lowest fan setting with the hottest temperature, and then you press the accelerator to the floor, not when the engine's running, with the ignition on, with all the accessories on, engine off though, and floor it. Wait about maybe 5-10 seconds, and then you'll hear the water pump turn on. But make sure you have a good battery, otherwise it will deplete. When you're filling it up, there is a bleeder valve here. It's a good idea to open it up to let it vent. Any air bubbles will be pushed through the system and come out this hose, and this bleeder valve is connected to this hose right here and the reservoir as well. So let's keep that open. As you can see, the float has started to rise. You got to be careful with the bleeder valve off though, because eventually as you continue filling it, this tube will fill with coolant and will start leaking out. So I'm being very mindful of that. I'm going to close it as soon as I see it starting to spill. Okay, let's put the bleeder valve back in because I'm going to initiate the electronic bleeding program that the car is equipped with, and coolant may shoot out of this port. So let's close it for now and we may open it up again later. So we're going to need to turn all the accessories on. Let's go to the climate control. Let's turn it on the lowest fan setting, but the hottest temperature on both sides. Okay. And now we just floor it and we hold it and we wait. We'll hear the pump turn on. There we go. Okay, let's go to the pump. Well, not the pump, we'll go to the reservoir. This will run for a few minutes. It's going to cycle on and off several times until all the air bubbles come out. There we go. And you can see all the air bubbles. See that steady stream of fluid coming out? And that is, all that coolant is coming through this line here. So now the pump's turned off. It's going to turn on again in a few seconds. There she goes. Air bubble, air bubble. Now all we got to do is just wait it out and top up the coolant level as required. Every time the pump turns on, this float will drop a little bit. Loud as shit. So let's take a look for any leaks. Let's check the belt first. Man, that thing is quiet as can be. Holy, that's amazing. Alternator sounds great. We'll confirm the voltage shortly. Oil filter housing gasket. We replaced that, 2 of them. We replaced this and we replaced that. And it looks like there's no leaks. These oil lines, I don't see any oil, so that's good. And I also mark them to see if it backs out, if it gets loose for whatever reason. Let's check the upper rad hose. Any coolant? Nothing. How about this lower hose? Nothing. How about this? So the engine block? Nothing. No leaks. Let's check to see if the alternator is working correctly. So if it's working, we should see about 14 volts. That looks pretty healthy to me, guys. That's working very well. Okay, I can't get over how quiet the belt is. Okay, let's take a look underneath. Let's see if there's any leaks. So far there's nothing on the ground, no drips. By now there would be drips all over if it was leaking, but let's take a closer dive. Oil drain bolt looks good, no drips from the transmission. Lower rad hose and our water pump, let's check that. So here's our water pump. This is just residual shit from when I was pressure washing. We'll wipe that up, but no leaks on the thermostat. The water pump's working nicely. All these connections are good. I'd say that's a wrap. So we can put the underbelly on and take this thing for a spin. It runs amazing. I'm so happy with it. So now I'm ready to put on the underbelly pan. We're gonna slide under the car, install that. Then we can lower the car from the jack stands. We're gonna turn the car around and I'm gonna replace the car with a new 2022 battery. We will need to register the battery using input, but first let's finish up the car. Most BMWs have the batteries in the back, so we're gonna have to pop the trunk, take off some trim. We'll remove the two 10mm bolts in this like weird electrical box that's on top of the battery. Pull the battery out, super heavy, super awkward to pull out. We'll get our new one in there, connect all the terminals, and we'll jump in. We'll hook up our input on the laptop, and we're gonna register this battery. I've already got a few things removed from the battery, such as the upper support. It's just two 10mm or 13, I forget. That holds it in place. This thing comes off easy enough. We got two 10mm on the top of the battery, easy enough. So we're gonna have to remove this stupid blue connector here, just so it gives us a little more clearance to pull the ground out. We may need to pull this out as well. Okay, we're gonna have to pull this off. There's a big 13mm nut on this control unit that needs to come off. And deep down into the crevices of the battery, we have our battery support. It's our mounting bracket, it's a 10mm. And then once we loosen that up, we should be able to pull the battery up. You need to get all the wires out of the way. BMW made such a crazy mess with this stuff. Like, it's so hard to maneuver this battery with this chunky ass thing in the way. You could further like take it all apart, but kind of lazy for that right now. So let's just get that 10mm off, pull off the positive terminal, lift up the battery and try to jiggle it out of here. Let's compare the two batteries. This is an AC Delco, 900 cold cranking amps, which is pretty impressive, I'm not gonna lie. But it just doesn't really hold its charge for longer than a few days. If you're using the car every single day, it's pretty good, like it's fine, but you let her sit for a little bit, and I don't think there is a parasitic draw. I just think the battery sucks. It's a little old. And then here we got our new one. We got 12/22, December 2022, genuine BMW. This is the latest version. So the most important details are here. So we have 850 cold cranking amps. And then if we go to here, so in the coding settings, you're gonna need to tell the system what kind of battery you have. This is a 92 AH battery. This is the latest version that you can get. Previous, it was 90. They don't sell you the 90s anymore. And in BMW's software, when you're coding the new battery, it can only go up in increments of 10. So we're just gonna run the 90. So we're gonna go ahead and plop that in really quick. And now we can just simply reinstall the negative positive terminal in that electrical box into some of the wire. Alright guys, that's a wrap. I'm really happy with how everything turned out. We're leaving for Florida in 4 days for the solo road trip, so fingers crossed everything goes well. So make sure you like and subscribe so you can keep up to date with this journey. Peace.